Hi, this is Tom, again in my model shop. I thought I'd come up with a manner in which I or any future owner of this model crane might be able to access the undercarriage of the lower crawler assembly to do any maintenance or change out some components such as the receiver or possibly bind the existing receiver to a new transmitter. So I've come up with a scheme in which you can tilt the crane up on its side without completely disassembling the cab panels and the gantry and all these outside related equipment. So let me go ahead and show you how I've made this tilting frame and how to use it. Here, pictured next to the model, I have the rectangular lower crawler assembly's clamping frame that I constructed, pictured with two temporary boom backstop support rods. Next, I placed the model on the floor and lowered the boom tip bottom to about 20 or so inches above grade, providing a tripod support for the boom at the tip elevation. The headache ball hook is disconnected by removing the through screw as shown. So as not to remove the thimble-eyed swivel, the hook's line is first rotated over the shiv's side flange to the left side space as pictured. Removing the left side spacer then allows for the thimble-eyed swivel to be removed from the left side boom tip shiv. Removing the small cotter key then from one end of the boom tip brass retainer shaft allows for the removal of the hook's line from the boom tip. Next, remove the tagline thimble eye from the grab bucket's chain connecting hoop and wind it up around the tagline reel as shown. Since blind threading the grab bucket's closing line through the two sets of shivs can be time-consuming, I chose to apply a small drop of super thin CA glue to that line just over 6 inches above the top of the open bucket, which is where I then cut the line, which will later be rejoined with CA glue and pulled through the shivs. Each of the two hoist lines were then wound back onto their respective drums. The boom base section's hoisting clevis assembly is then flipped over to facing aft. Next, briefly turn on both the model and the transmitter to extend the boom hoist upper gantry spreader to align with the two boom base section clevises. Unscrew the two aluminum clevises using a 0.5 millimeter hex wrench and replace them with the two snap-on type boom base section clevises as shown. Each of the four boom corner rod connections have two each 1/16 diameter retaining pins. Remove only the four silver finishing nail pins from the boom corner rod connections now. Separate the boom tip section from the boom base section by firmly holding each section with your hands, pulling the sections apart with small wiggling movements. Stored attached to the flipping fixture frame with rubber bands are two carbon fiber tubes that I clamped to each of the two boom base sections telescoping backstop tubes to protect them from damage during the model's side flip as shown. Attached to the model's hoisting fixture are two stored number 10 screws that are removed and then used to bolt the hoisting fixture directly to the model's steel cross brace as shown to provide a firm side flip stop for the model. The 2x4 frame fixture that I fabricated to clamp around the model's lower crawler assembly has notes and sketches on the frame to show how to orient the frame to the model. Note that the fixture's left and right side beams each have two spacer blocks that have different small counterbores that align with the bolt heads
and nuts on each of the model's left and right side frames. After nesting each of the fixture's left and right side beam spacer block counterbores, noting each beam's closeness to the treads as shown with red arrows, begin to carefully tighten each of the flipping fixture's corner bolts. Attach the 2 white counterweight centering posts with the provided screws. Now, with both the hoisting and flipping fixtures firmly installed on the model, and with the fixture model on an adequately sized flat surface, carefully flip the model onto its side orientation as shown. Note that I used my overhead crane. However, an alternate flipping method might be to attach a lever bar of some form to either the lifting or the flipping fixture to use as a handle. The lower pan on the bottom of the lower tread assembly's cross bridge is attached with 12 each 440 button head cap screws that are removed using a 1/16 inch hex wrench as shown. Only the right-hand side of the bottom pan has reliefs machined in, allowing for the pan to be removed by sliding it to align those cutouts with the left inner side plate's button head cap screws as shown. The bottom pan with its attached cooling fan can only be completely removed after unplugging the fan's connecting plug as pictured. Here is a view of the equipment layout of the lower crawler assembly's electrical and radio control equipment. Note that while the primary and secondary receivers can be binded to a different transmitter or replaced, as could be the ESC, the tread drive motors replacement would require further disassembly. Okay, once you are finished with whatever you may have wanted to change under the model, just do the reverse of everything I just explained to reassemble it. One note, however, regarding the cable reeving back through the clamshell bucket sheaves. I used a small drop of gap-filling medium CA glue to rejoin the previously cut bucket closing line, trying to form a slight bend at the juncture while also grind off any glue bulges and lubricating it with Vaseline to allow for a smooth and complete pull-through of the juncture. Lastly, the glued juncture was cut off with a new figure-8 knot tied in the new line with a drop of super thin CA glue and clamped under the top cap. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, this video will enable you to access the bottom equipment without otherwise substantially disassembling the model.